Oh, shit.
Shit.
To the Council and Committee of the whole meeting for the 3rd of June 2025. Bonjour, bienvenue à notre réunion de Council pour le 3 juin. To open this evening's meeting, I would like to ask Councillor Rivard to read our land. Oh, sorry, Councillor Rivard to read our land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we meet today, I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of the land on which we are gathered. The municipality of West Nipissing respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the homelands of the Anishinaabe peoples, on the traditional territory of the Nipissing, Temagami, and Doki's First Nations, covered by the Robinson-Huron Treaty. We honor and recognize their historical connection to the land and value their significant contributions in shaping and strengthening our communities. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility towards reconciliation and improving our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures.
Thank you, merci. Next on the agenda, I'll take any declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, I will move on to the addendum and agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrin and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the addendum for the Council and Committee of the whole meeting held on June the 3rd, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Okay. This is for the addendum. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Ferrin. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the whole meeting held on June the 3rd, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to number 4, delegations and petitions. To open this evening, it's always a pleasure to welcome Jessica Dion from Baker Tilly. Are we still called Baker Tilly? Okay, thank you. Thank you. From Baker Tilly, well, because you changed names a couple of times. From Baker Tilly to present the audited municipal financial statements for 2024. Ms. Dion, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with your staff. You mentioned you have in your package. Can you tell me what page we should?
So the document that we're working off is the one that's called the comparative analysis on the documents that were sent by Holly last Thursday. It's got a really pretty picture on the front.
It's got a green comparative analysis. It's a green green. Rather than going, you have been provided with the draft financial statements. Rather than going through the draft financial statements, which are quite lengthy, I've summarized the critical statements in my comparative analysis report. So I'll walk you through that tonight. They are a carbon copy of the draft financial statements. Okay. You go to the table of contents. So I'll present to you the consolidated independent auditor's report, the statement of financial position, operations by expenses, the reserves, and I'll show you how we get from your municipal budget to the budget that we disclose in the financial statements. Now, before I begin, I do want to thank management. It is a huge endeavor to prepare the municipal financial statements every year. So your financial statements include not only the municipality of West Nipissing, but they include your local boards, which are the West Nipissing Environmental Services, West Nipissing Library, West Nipissing Power Generation, and a portion of Chateau. So those 4 organizations and local boards get consolidated into your financial statements. So the numbers that you will see tonight are going to be different, significantly different than the numbers that management or staff present to you when they do financial updates. Management presents to you the pure numbers of the municipality, how you budgeted compared to how you did. In your financial statements, we are taking 5 different entities and we're putting them together. So the numbers will be different than what you've seen. This is to comply with the accounting standards. So the municipal financial statements have to comply with public sector accounting standards. So I'm going to be presenting the English report. There's a French version on the second half of the comparative analysis. So the independent auditor's report. So we have audited the consolidated financial statements of the corporation of the municipality of West Nipissing. It comprises of the statement of financial position, consolidated statement of operations and accumulated surplus, cash flows, and change in net debt for the year ended December 31st, 2024. So in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality. So in English, it's a clean audit report. It's the highest opinion that an auditor could give. So now we'll go to the consolidated statement of financial position. Is everyone with me? Some nods. Okay. So the statement of financial position, this is a snapshot in time at December 31st, 2024. So your cash went up 22,575,000, went up by approximately 2.2 million. This is Eau Chateau's cash position improved during the year because they had grants that they received grants that they weren't spent, so the cash position went up. The taxes receivable, 3,465,000, went up by 526,000. There was an increase in commercial taxes receivable. So this taxes receivable line is a pure municipal number. These are the taxes that you've levied but have not been collected as of December 31st. Accounts receivable, this includes all other monies owing to the municipality of West Nipissing, 5,762,000. It is an increase of approximately 801,000 from last year. Really boils down to a timing of when projects were completed. Your connecting links and ISIP are receivable. So for these grants, you spend the funds, and then the ministries reimburse the municipality for expenses. Other current assets. This is 416,000, an increase of 150,000. This number is really power generation's the taxes that power generation owes. So this year they had a reduction in taxes owing, therefore they were getting their tax installments back. Total financial assets of 32,219,000. If we look at the liabilities, so these are the funds that are owing to other parties. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities of 11,649,000. It is an increase of 2 million, almost 2.9 million. It comes down to a timing of expenses. I mentioned you had some ISIP and connecting links grant receivables. You also have holdbacks and construction invoices that were owing at December 13th due to the timing of when the construction projects were occurring. Also, Eau Chateau has a payable to the provincial government increase because they received grants that weren't fully spent. Deferred revenues other, 2,175,000. It is a decrease of 420,000. Some of the OSIF funds that had been set aside, that hadn't been fully utilized, were utilized in the current year. So you used your current year OSIF plus money that had previously been set aside. Same for the deferred revenues obligatory funds, 531,000, which is a decrease of 441,000. You used your annual gas tax fund allotment, plus you used funds that were carried forward from previous years. Your municipal debt, 24,579,000, decreased by 3,754,000. This was a repayment of capital. There was no new debt issued during 2024. Your employee future benefits payable and the asset retirement obligations the balances are comparable to last year. So your net debt is sitting at 13,803,000, which is a reduction of $5.4 million compared to prior year. Now we'll look at your non-financial assets. These are assets that are used in the provision of services to your ratepayers. So tangible capital assets, 156,992,000. It is an increase of 4.3 million over prior year. So you had 11.6 million in additions, offset by 7.2 million in amortization. So some of the highlights of your capital projects this year, or what we call capital asset additions, was John Street, Front Street, Eugene Bridge, the health center building renovations, a grader and a loader. Your prepaid expenses and inventories, again, are comparable to the prior year, which leaves you with an accumulated surplus of 143,762,000.
Can we stop in between
Absolutely.
pages so we don't get lost?
Yeah, is there any questions on this before we, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple in regards to the Chateau. So, sorry, I just have to go back here. The grants received but not spent, are they carrying those forward into 2025 for projects?
They're not
Or
allowed.
did they have to repay
They have to.
unspent?
You have to repay them. So a little background on Eau Chateau. They've received funding for, they have the normal daily operations and they receive funding for the level of care, to increase the level of care. And if our interpretation of the grant agreement, if you didn't meet the 4 hours level of care, you would have to repay the grant. So the incremental between what care you were providing up until how much have you improved it by, you can keep that percentage of the grant. So that's why there was a large repayable because they weren't able to utilize all that money.
Okay, and then how much of the receivables, so we have 5.2 in receivables and you said a lot of it was Connecting Lincoln ISIP. How much are those two programs and how much are just general receivables? Sorry,
I probably have that let me go to your full financial statements.
I'm sorry. Thank
No,
you.
no, absolutely. I have that right here. Because they're consolidated, I won't be able to give you,
Okay,
but I can give you a more specific number. So from the federal government, you have a receivable of 1,584,000. ISIP is a split, I'm gonna forget, is it 40% federal and 33%?
Yes.
40%. So a large portion of that 1.5 million is ISIP, and province of Ontario is 1,622,000. It's not 100% ISIP and Connecting Links, but it is a very good. So of that, approximately, I'm going to say 3 million without looking at my specific working papers. Of that, 5.7 million is the grants receivable for ISIP and Connecting Links.
okay. And so also on the net debt, that's more than 25% reduction in our net debt. That's
That's excellent.
Yeah, let's just borrow more.
No, that's good news. I'd like to see that. Thank you very much.
I think it's very positive. Like as you're paying your debt as well. It was
Perfect. Okay.
$3.7 million of debt repayment. So as you repay your debt, that number is going to go down.
Okay, any other questions from other members of council on that page? Councillor Pellerin?
Thank you, Madame Mayor. Moi, j'aurais juste une question. Quand vous dites des tangible capital assets, je ne suis pas trop sûr si comme quand on parle des machines,
Oui.
puis on parle d'un pont.
Oui.
Puis le pont, on parle dessus. Qu'est-ce qu'on a estimé dans notre budget ou que c'est que les bids ont sorti à?
Les coûts réels que vous avez payés en 2024. Alors, le projet n'est peut-être pas complété, comme c'est toutes les...
Il est complété cette l'année
les
passée.
OK. So, tous les coûts réels en 2020. Non, j'ai dit
Pour ce mais-
construction. So, tous les coûts réels en 2024 qui étaient pour le pont, ça l'inclut comme le bid que vous avez accepté. Puis il peut y avoir des coûts de projet aussi, comme des coûts d'ingénieurs qui sont aussi ajoutés au coût. Was there any carry forward in the bridge whip from the year? Was it 100%
So
completed?
there would have been a small amount of whip that was carried forward on the bridge. Yeah.
So some projects, comme il y a des projets qui commencent en 2023 puis ont terminé en 2024. Alors c'est tous les coûts qui ont été encourus juste en 2024, de janvier à décembre.
OK. Non, je me demandais juste si ces fonctions-là, si c'est peut-être parce qu'on va avoir de la dépréciation là-dessus, puis que je me disais, un pont et un grader, tu sais, le grader va avoir de la dépréciation, puis le pont, pas vraiment.
Le pont, il est amorti sur une période de... On déprécie sur une période de 60 ans. Il faut mettre une vie utile.
OK.
En pratique, je pense, en théorie, ça va durer, j'espère, une vie limitée ou vous faites des réparations, mais il faut mettre un chiffre pour la dépréciation. Alors, le pont, c'est 60 ans. Les gros équipements, comme le grader puis le loader, ça peut être comme 25 ans, dépendant de... Sur chaque immobilisation a une vie et déprécie sur un différent montant basé sur la vie utile estimée.
OK, merci.
So. Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll go to the statement of operations. So this is so I'm going to compare it to budget. So we're going to look at, we've consolidated all the budgets from the municipality and the local boards to arrive at our budget 2024. And I'm going to compare the actuals to how we did versus budget. This is from, just a reminder, from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. So your net taxation, within $44,000 of budget, so that was very close to budget. So you collected $23,197,000. There was some tax write-offs, so some taxes that after trying to, you may not collect the full amount on tax sale. Therefore, we created an allowance.
They're not written off, it's just that.
They're not written off, so they're still in your records. Management feels that upon a tax sale, you might not be able to collect that amount of taxes and interest owing. So we've created an allowance. That's why you're under, if you're looking at why it appears that your taxes were under budget, it was because of the allowance that we set up. Your user charges, very comparable to budget. Government grants and transfers, so this includes federal and provincial, budgeted $16,719,000, came in at $17,490,000, which is an increase over budget of $771,000. So Eau Chateau received grants for an increase in level of care funding. That's why it was unanticipated. That's why the over budget. On the other line, so this comprises, again, all the other municipal revenues that are not taxes, user charges or grants. Budgeted $3,618,000. The actual came in at $4,315,000, which is an increase over budget of $697,000. So there was a sale of land, the interest and penalties on taxes, and building permits that came in higher than expected for a year. Total operating revenues were $63,200,000 or approximately $1.5 million greater than budgeted. If we look at your expenses, there's only two lines that really stand out as being significantly different from your budget. So it's the environmental service line. We have $13,824,000 was budgeted. The actual came in at $12,951,000. Now, for those of you who heard me at power generation, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it was under budget by $872,000 because the power generation windup costs, we did the actual report, it came in at less than expected. So that really skewed your environmental services line. If you exclude power generation from there, I mean, very comparable. And planning and development, budgeted $1,243,000. The actual expenses came in at a little over $1 million, which is being under budget of $230,000. $230,000 itself isn't an unreasonable number. However, in such a small budget line, it's it represents 25% of your budget line. There was a special project that was deferred to 2025. We have government grants and transfers related to capital, so what we call capital assets. So the grants budgeted $6,890,000. You actually used or received $5,592,000, which was approximately $1.3 million below budget. So there was some ISIP projects, it was a longer term project. So the construction has been carried forward into 2025, and so has the grant, because the grant matches the construction expenses. So that left you with an annual surplus of $9,896,000. Any questions on this particular slide?
Putting my hand up. Okay. First I was going to ask where the property sales go, but then I saw it was under the other line. But then the other part I was thinking, remember, and Alicia, you're going to have to help me with vocabulary and terminology here. The properties that did not sell for tax sale or we were not able, and we just take ownership of them, but there would have been some kind of tax debt associated with those. So at the time when, is it called vesting when we take it? So when we vest the properties, what happens to the amount owed for back taxes or whatever? Like, how is that accounted for?
So when we vest a property, we do write off the taxes owing. And so the education portion gets offset against our payments to the various boards, and the rest, they're netting in that net taxation.
Okay, so we don't see it kind of as a separate line, like the
No.
write-offs don't show as a separate line, they just show as a total balance, so there'd be pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
Within that. Okay, thank you.
That's kind of why you're under budget, because some of the properties that you knew didn't sell, like, management has set up an allowance because it likely will, well, the pending council's decision.
So no, there was ones that we didn't sell and we vested them, and those ones were already written off. And then there were the ones that didn't sell and we did not vest. And these are the ones that we then created an allowance, call it an allowance for bad debt, because since we didn't sell them on tax sale, I think that tax is not going to be collectible.
Recovered, yeah.
You know.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Council on? Okay, thank you. Next.
So the next page is the consolidated statement of operations expenses. This is just a different way of presenting your expenses. So instead of presenting them by segment, we present them by function. So your salaries, wages, and employee benefits, budgeted 25,239,000. Actuals came in at 24,255,000. It was due to the power gen pension plan. Your materials, contracted services, rents, and financial expenses, budgeted 22,321,000, came in at 21,711,000, my apologies, was under budget by approximately $610,000. The projects being deferred into 2025. Your transfers to the governments and the public, those are all your local boards, excluding Chateau. It came in relatively on budget. Amortization of tangible capital assets came in on budget, and the interest on municipal debt. So you budgeted 1,294,000. The actual interest came in at 1,062,000. In power generation, their loan, because as the interest was lower than expected. So as the capital is repaid, your interest also goes down. So that's just another way of presenting your expenses.
Okay, so just one question on that. The transfers to other governments and the public, that would just be DSAB and the health unit? Those two? That's it?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
because Chateau is eliminated.
Is separate.
In your financial statements. Now, on the next slide, I think this is probably, I added this in there, it's called reserves, because I think it's probably of interest to most of the council. It is in your financial statements, but I just wanted to pop it out and show you what the amount of reserve, the different reserve funds that you have in the municipality. Now, these are consolidated, so it's not 100% the municipal reserves. Any questions on that page?
Health services is just the reserve that's been set aside for the Chateau?
I don't know that there.
Because I don't know what else we would fund under health, like that we would have a reserve. So the reserve under health, is that the money that had been put aside by previous councils and ourselves for the Chateau?
I'm gonna check that for you.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Well, it's connecting. Can we come back to that?
Yep, absolutely.
Or I do need a multi-factor authentication.
Yes. Yes.
Very secure.
Very
You
secure.
can tell your information is very secure.
Yeah, it's the Chateau and a little bit that would be connected to the cemeteries.
Okay, thank you. So I was gonna make sure that okay. That's a unique categorization. Okay, thank you.
It's coming. Okay. Assess. This is, I don't know if you can see from here, but it's very tiny, but I will get you that information.
I apologize.
No, absolutely. This is a good question. I like questions. I think it's important. It's important for council to understand, especially since we're taking effectively 5 entities and we're combining them all in one. And that's not the information that you're getting on
So the reserve would be reserves held by all 5 organizations.
getting there. Health services is actually belongs to the municipality. So you have 39,732 in a columbarium reserve, and you have a reserve for Eau Chateau for 1,598,000. And then on the next page is your budget reconciliation. As you know, council budgets to have a 0 budget, and then we come along and we say that, hey, you have a budget surplus of 7,875,000. What are you doing, Jess? So we have to make your budget it more or less on the cash basis. Like you need to levy based on the operating needs of and capital needs of the municipality for each year. And then we come and take it and say, well, accounting standards tell me that I have to present it this way. So this budget reconciliation just shows me how I get from 0 to the 7,879,000. So effectively, you had your municipal debt repaid, put that on the balance sheet. Your change in employee future benefits payable, you put that on the balance sheet. Your accretion, that's the usage of your landfill. So every year, the time value of money. Acquisition of capital assets. Again, you budget through grants and levies to fund the capital. We throw that onto your balance sheet. Same for amortization. On disposal of tangible capital assets, your proceeds, those are all balance sheet items that you balance. I think what's critical is you plan to take 4,260,000 out of reserves to fund your current operations. However, you were able to add instead 1,642,000 to reserves. So instead of having to withdraw from reserves, you were able to increase your reserves this year. I think that's the message to take from this slide. And that would be my presentation.
Councilor Gagne?
Thank you, Madam. Okay, I'm just curious to see the contribution from reserve.
Yeah.
Why didn't we spend that 4-point-some million?
It's a netting of things. So we would have budgeted that we were transferring money and putting money into reserve. We were budgeted in our capital to take it back out of reserve. And so some of that happened, but some projects are carrying. And then at the end of the year, we had a general surplus that we put into reserve as well. So it's the netting of all those pieces.
You may have got grants that you didn't expect to get, so that contributed. If a project, you know how, one thing I know the municipality does is you'll budget to do a project, say from start to finish, and you'll say I need X number of funds, and I'm gonna fund it with like grants and we'll say taxpayer levies. But then the project doesn't get, for whatever reason, you're not able to complete the project within the current year, so that gets carried forward. So maybe you don't need to take those reserves out because the project's not gonna go until next year. So that's why instead of taking it out now, I didn't need to take those funds out of reserves.
Okay, so I guess just for clarification, we were planning to use 4.2 million from reserves.
Yeah.
Instead, we've put 1.6 into reserve last year.
Yeah, because some projects were not deferred, but they'll be completed in 2025.
Okay.
So you didn't need to use that reserve money in 24.
Okay.
The project wasn't completed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Your question? Councilor Cameron?
Stay a minute. So on that same note, just for myself, like the Eugene Bridge came out, we put aside $2 million, and the bid came out at 650,000. So would that be a surplus that would be put in the reserve?
Eugene Bridge was actually gas tax funded. And so, but it would have been one of those projects that absolutely, initially we would have forecasted it to be partially gas tax, partially reserve. And then because it came in less, then absolutely the other money stays in reserve. Absolutely.
Okay. My other question, what's our total debt for the municipality? And it involves which department or whatever in the municipality?
So just the municipality itself?
Yeah. But the total, like we paid $1.3 million in interest on what total of debt?
So the municipality itself, like excluding power generation, the municipality has $13,275,000 of debt. Do you have the breakdown of departments, Elisa? Roughly?
Yeah, so there's of that 13 million, there's 2.7 million that belongs to water and sewer. And there was interest of $193,000 attached to those water and sewer debts. The other 10.5 million is a combination of I'm going to call a lot of this stuff kind of our facilities, right? And so it ranges in facilities. It's all facilities. The rest is all facilities. It's not water and sewer. And so technically we call facilities part of community services. But some of those, it is a general government facility. It is the ambulance bay. It is sort of all those facilities have the remaining 10.5. And there was interest of 361,000 on that in 2024 for the municipal side.
So that would include, the police detachment building.
Yep.
It would include the renovations that were done on the community health center, which are being,
There's not debt tied to the health center, actually,
okay.
but the ambulance bay, there is debt attached to the ambulance.
Okay, I wasn't sure how the renovations at the community health center were financed, whether that was debt or.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
To
you.
break it down for you, the total interest paid just by the municipality of West Nipissing is $558,000. That was the total interest included in that number was paid by the municipality of West Nipissing. And the total debt by the municipality is $13,275,000. So that number is included. It's part of the information on in your financial statements.
So a big chunk of that is the police building?
So the police building is 8.6 million at the end of 2024.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions or comments, Councilor Larrabee?
Thank you. The police building, that's a 20-year loan, would it not be?
We split the loan in two because part of the building is connected to a lease that we have with them, and part of the building is ours. And so we did a 30-year on our portion of the building and a 15-year on
On there.
the leased portion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay. Anybody else? Last call. Councilor Larrabee, sorry.
It's okay. The value of the municipality,
The value,
the
sorry.
value of all of the municipality, West
We're
Nipissing.
gonna sell it.
And we
What are we
can
worth?
back it.
Why?
We're gonna go out for a share.
Years ago, we were 84 million.
Well, that's a really hard, the accounting value. I know this is at Caco because the accounting value is 143 million.
143.
Yeah, the accounting value. But like, as your infrastructure, like we put an accounting value on it. But can you really, like, if you were to go replace all that infrastructure today, it would cost you a lot more than what you have in your account.
They're depreciating numbers, right? Like, so
Yeah, they are
do
depreciating.
account condition of each of the, so it's not replacement.
So this
value.
isn't this accounting number is not a true value of what what those assets are worth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dion.
Thank you. I appreciate all the questions. I really like the engagement and wanting to understand your numbers. So thank you for your questions.
So does this mark the end of season? Because you and I have had the opportunity to see each other several times at several AGMs and events over the last month or so. It is always a pleasure to have you here. The work done by your firm for the municipality is always outstanding, and you're always great to have in the room. So we appreciate your time and your knowledge. And we look forward to seeing you again starting next April.
Thank you. Comments?
Okay, we do have a does that not go on the? Okay, so there is a resolution that Madam Clerk will read in regards to the audited financial statements.
It's moved by Councillor Ferrin and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the Chief Administrative Officer and the Chair of General Government be authorized to sign the 2024 audited financial report on behalf of the municipality of West Nipissing.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Dion. Okay, moving on, we have received a petition for sidewalk on Salter Street in our packages, as is the procedure with petitions. The petition has been received, and we'll come back with a staff report and for discussion at our next meeting, which we'll have Public Works on. So that would be June 17th. Moving into Committee of the Whole, we have 3 items under General Government. The first item on the agenda is 30th Street, otherwise known as the Information Center. And I will pass the floor to Mr. Barble.
Thank you, Madam Chair of General Government, Madam Mayor. So based on our term plan and our strategic plan, what we've been attempting to do is bring forward properties when we've been able to have council consider their future use and need. And this has been resulting in decisions at times where facilities could be declared surplus if council feels that they are not of use and may be of better use to somebody else. 30 Front Street, which is we'll call it the Tourism Center. You have the information that Ms. Craddock prepared. The building as it stands right now is extremely underutilized and probably has been for quite some time. We do have one tenant in the building, which is Sudbury East West Nipissing Economic Partners. There has been some interest in that building in the past by the Catholic diocese when they had their church was no longer able to be used, so they were looking at options. So we had looked at that, and council did look at it back in the day. The issue with the appraisal back in the day is it hadn't taken into consideration that we were using it then. We were using it for Public Works in our operations center. So for that, and this was local police decision. So we didn't have the space simply to move the operations center here as they are now. And so there would have been a significant cost that would have eaten into the revenue back in the day. Council, I believe Councillor Larrabee was there at that time. Yeah. So there's a fair cost to the day. But so we bring this back before you to indicate as a discussion point whether you wish to have it declared surplus or get more information as to what the value could be in $2025 or so I just leave it to you, Madam Mayor, to discuss with council.
Okay, thank you very much. The report is quite detailed. So I will open it up to questions and comments from our council, please. Councillor Ferrin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we were to declare it surplus and put it up for sale, how would we be able to accommodate economic partners elsewhere?
Through you, Madam Chair, thanks for the question. I'm sure we could. There are other issues that the mayor and I were talking about recently, and it really depends on the timing of future leases, even with this building. I hate to scare, but it's very clear that this building has some parts of it that are empty with one of our tenants. Whether they renew those leases is 2026. Right,
26, they have one additional year left, and we'll know in February of 26.
right. If they exercise their options, so there could be some space here. But it could be an issue, and this is, not for us to say, but there could be even some options for the method of sale. It could be an option for them to look at the building themselves if they so wish. There has been some chat about it. So, so there are a lot of ways this can go, and one of the ways could be that Sudbury East Economic Partners stays as a tenant to somebody who acquires it, and they just remain there. It really depends on the future landlord. Or they find space that they may find more suitable, more central in town as a business unit, because they are a little bit out of the way there as well, right? So there's a lot of options. So it's really, at this point, whether this council can see a use for this building or see a better value with the use of, I'm going to slant it a little bit, but it is some pretty prime real estate in terms of a first impression coming into our community. And as it is right now, either we are underutilizing it for sure. Chamber of Commerce have been in there, but of course we know that the chamber is no longer active in West Nipissing. And so, do we have a use for it? It would involve council's decision to really ramp up our operations in the tourism area and that kind of thing. There might be the opportunity of consolidating other services that we may have and find other buildings. But that would be something that we would bring to you if that was where council wanted to direct us.
Okay, I'll let Councillor Pepper.
Yeah, just the other point, I don't know if we have an idea of how much it's worth. I think you said, what year was it valued at 5? Was it valued?
2015, 525.
Seems to me, I mean, maybe it's worth more than that today, but then when I look at how much money needs to go into the building, 589 in the next 5 years, and an additional 300 in years 6 to 10. I don't know, just doing the math quickly, I don't think it would appeal to anyone to pay $1 million on a property that you need to spend $1 million on over the next 10 years. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, but.
Well, it's for you, nor am I, but I would suggest that the market may have a need for it, and that might be chump change if it's a conglomerate or a national firm or something like that. We just, we don't know at this point what it would be for them to say, yeah, that would be not some cost that we'd be able to handle because we have a significant market opportunity, but we don't know what the private sector would do from that perspective.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We can't forget that this property is prime location, right across the road from where the developing property at the mill. So this is, and there is some repairs to be done on it. And if we could let it go fairly cheap so the person can move on with it. It's, like I said, it's a prime location. So we have quite a bit of buildings that we need to pump some money in. So if this is underutilized, I would recommend that we do declare it surplus and so that way the tax remain the taxes at the lower end of the bar. So I would recommend declaring it surplus.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pellerin.
Madam Mayor, could we start by getting an appraisal from the real estate, these guys have
That would be, that is the recommendation, so it would be a good first step.
start with this?
Yeah.
Councilor.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of, thank you. Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking, just get the appraisal, but not really, like, when I look at it too, I feel like there's other buildings in the municipality that we get that are maybe in even rougher shape or don't have this kind of aesthetic look to it or the location to it, right? So I don't know if it's strategically, if there's other buildings that we should be looking at before this one. I'm not the professional at that, and I trust that they brought it forward for a reason, but it's just based on the location with that whole green space next to it, I'm worried that, you sell it and then you lose your control as to what can happen there, right? Or I'm just speaking out loud there, but I'd just like to take this one slowly because we've sold off quite a bit of land already in the past few years. I think we've done a good job, but I'd like to explore if there's something that can be done with the building, like just because it's underutilized, maybe it doesn't have to be, but I don't have the answer right now.
May I ask a few questions in the interim? And then if there's other questions from councilors. Since the Chamber, when did the Chamber of Commerce leave the lease space there? 6 or 8 months ago?
I think it was probably a little before that. Steph, when did they leave? A couple of years ago?
I say 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Has there been any attempts to attract new tenants or any marketing of the space to new tenants that would help us? Ian, to me, if the building was closer to not costing us a whole lot of money to keep, there's two things. Either we need to generate enough revenue from that building that it's not a burden on the taxpayers, or it has to be used in such a way that serves the community. So, if it's as a tenanted facility, then like if we're going to keep it as a tenanted facility, we need to do a better job of attracting tenants, filling that space and increasing the revenue generated on the building. If it's going to cost the taxpayers money in order to maintain and keep that building, then it needs to serve a use in the community. It needs to be available for community groups. It needs to be, whatever that looks like, it has to be a facility that actually serves community members if it's costing us money. And if neither of those things can be accomplished, then I would be in favor of surplusing it. But my gut feeling is that I agree with Councillor Rivard as far as the strategic location of the building. The fact that I do believe it is a visually attractive building at the center of town, and the fact that we actually own, I believe we own all of the land from there to the bakery, right? To not quite the bakery, but the house next to the bakery. So we own the lookout. From the lookout to the car dealership is all municipally owned property. And I think as we're working through the phase 2 environmental assessment on Weyerhaeuser, there could be future potential in that building and in that site. And I would hate for us to do something short-sighted for financial gain without kind of really thinking through whether or not there's long-term benefit for the community. So those would be my comments, Mr. Barbo.
Certainly fair enough. I would indicate though that the way the building is configured, I mean, we have an office suite in the back that's entered by the back. It's not really a great rentable space. There would have to be quite a bit of leasehold improvement, and the front commercial area is really difficult to rent. It really was set up as a tourism center with a little bit of, space in the back. Where I could see it is another government agency that we spoke about is interested in that space. It would be something more of a government agency or a tourism or an economic development operations, such, in the same light as Sudbury East, West Nipissing. If you've gone into it, there's kind of a common area. You go up some stairs and there's a meeting room upstairs, and there's one little office, and then this meeting area. So it's not really, I wouldn't consider it office space that's easily rented. So, but, that's not to say that somebody wouldn't, some organization wouldn't want it at one point. That doesn't negate the issue with respect to the condition of the building and the future costs that need to go into, which I'm not sure we'd have to rent the entire demise premises for it to have a rentable space to be able to pay for that capital, or it's going to go on the taxpayer to fix that building.
More questions or comments? Councillor
So,
Bonner?
comment, my mayor. I think this recommendation was brought up by administrative staff because it's underutilized. And I agree with Mr. Balboa. I've been a few times in that building, and it's a hard fit to kind of maximize the space, but maybe potential businesses or capital venture businesses might be interested. So I agree with the recommendation, and I would like to see an evaluation and then maybe decide if we want to put it up for sale. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nicol?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Are there any terms in the current rental agreement on the amount of notice economic partners would need to be given?
We're at a month-to-month lease at this point.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so the consensus I heard, and I will get a show of hands, is that you would like to see an evaluation done on the property and then bring it back for further discussion. Is that a fair evaluation of the discussion? Okay, show of hands, please. Thank you. Do you want a resolution on that for the next meeting, or will we just proceed with the evaluation?
Okay, given the timing of it, if we'll start concurrently.
Okay, thank you.
I'm already breaking my own rules.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have item 5.1.2, strong mayor powers. So we did discuss this at our last general government meeting, which was at the beginning of May, and at that time, we had asked for staff to collect some additional information from other municipalities and associations for our review. It was fairly new at that time, and staff has done a great job of collecting information from many municipalities, as well as some of the professional associations that serve municipalities. All of the information is in your packages, and I will open the floor for questions and comments. Councillor Larrabee, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I saw a lot of municipality that kind of are not in favor of this at all, and they're sending the letter to prepare that they're not interested in this. But from our understanding from the seminar that we had, sending the letter or not doesn't make a difference
I mean,
at this time.
yeah, I would say sending the letter sends the message, and when it's seen in conjunction with letters from many other municipalities, and it's sent to organizations like AMO or Roma, it does give them kind of marching orders on advocacy at a larger level. It doesn't impact the fact that the powers are still there, and if somebody who has been granted those powers chooses to use them, they can. However, a resolution by this council making that kind of statement, a mayor who is respectful of the democratic process and who values the contributions of each and every one of their members, out of respect for their members, would not use those powers, in my mind. Councillor Rivard.
Yeah, through you. I'd urge caution with like a comment like that about like that it doesn't matter, because that's kind of sending a message as well to anybody who submits a petition or sends us a letter. It does matter as elected officials. They are like as a governing body, right? If we send that letter, it's just a letter that says what we think as a body. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the powers will be rescinded or anything. It's just the idea that the letter is still like you voice your opinion, which is the democratic process, right? So it's not so much that it doesn't mean anything. It's just, do we believe that this is a democratic process that's been implemented by the provincial government? And I'm reading some of the in-use ones. It's kind of funny when you start reading, accepted the strong mayor powers and used with controversy. Other people accepted the strong mayor powers, appointed a new CAO, then was deemed as controversial, the CAO thing. But another one was fired 2 bureaucrats. Another one was put forward a 60-story development building that goes completely against the planners and the staffs. So like when you start reading the ones that have been used, there's a lot of cases here that it's kind of scary, right? Like, I'm not saying that we are in this position where these things will happen, but I think it's our due diligence just to send that, to provide a letter like that. And then if ever stuff goes crazy and we start seeing that this backfires big time on the provincial government, at least we can sit here and say, you know, we provided our comment that we thought this wasn't the most democratic thing out there or the best idea to have. I would suggest going through and looking at the eyes, because that's kind of, some of them are just accepted strong mayor powers and see what those in a good way. Like it's not bad, but other ones, they seem a little scary and dangerous.
Sorry, what was the source of the table that was provided?
It was it was an actual, a municipality with staff who compiled it. I can't remember the name it came in from.
Yes, that's Mississippi Mills.
Mississippi Mills, yeah.
The mayor of Mississippi Mills is also the chair of Roma,
Okay.
just so maybe should have
They probably had
additional
access to background
resources.
information.
And all I would say about that table is it was compiled by a staffer, and you will notice in there, and this is just the caution that I would urge in reading this particular one, you will notice in there, West Nipissing is listed, and it's listed me as in favor, based solely on a quote from a Bay Today story for an interview that I gave, I believe the day after the letter came from the minister. And so it's one quote where I was never contacted to say, am I in favor or not in favor? It was they have based their opinion of that on a news story from the day after the announcement was made. So I just want to say, there is some interpretation in there as far as, in my opinion, because I wasn't asked for my opinion. That's what they think it was based on that story, which is available online for anybody to read. So. Okay, other questions or comments, Councillor Pellerin?
Just a comment. We were present the other day when they showed us online the presentation of the powers and all this, and I don't think it's as people thought. You've got the hammer to do anything. A lot of it, most of it, you still need 2/3 of the council to be in favor and this and that, so.
To reverse.
1/3 of the council.
Reverse or. Yeah, so, I don't know, to me, I totally agree with Rockville, just take it as not taking any stance on it.
Sorry, I'm trying to read the individual writing. I see Councillor Larrabee has a double-sized sheet there to make it easier. Other questions or comments?
Comment that I would have, Madam Mayor, is on the side of caution on this, because I'm from the last council.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it? That's your statement? Okay,
Need I say more?
That's it.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to finish the sentence, but I
No,
guess
okay.
that was a complete thought. Councillor Gagne?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just repeat it like the last time we had the discussion. I don't think it's a democratic process, and I hope that we actually oppose it and do send a letter to any people, well, the provincial government to say we don't appreciate it because it's not following the democratic process that we were elected for.
Yeah, and I think that we do quite well as a council, quite frankly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gagne. Okay, Councillor Rivard.
Just another one. Saw that I didn't read earlier. This one, the mayor of London invoked the strong mayor powers to assign additional duties to a deputy mayor and budget chair. And then because he assigned additional duties, said they needed a pay raise for additional duties, right? So it's just like weird stuff like that. Like, I just don't see how a mayor, and then when we speak about the entire 2/3 aspect as well, that's why we are a majority, like a board that is governed by majority. Right? So when you just go 2/3, well then what's the point if we're 9 here and you only need 3? Well then, so that means 3 people who vote technically, you know.
More, it's actually more than 1/3 is the phraseology, so it would be 4, but it's still.
It's just that. And then I guess, not to put you on the spot, but just because you mentioned it says in favor, but you know, you kind of mentioned that you may not be in favor, like, I think by sending the letter would just kind of show, by not sending the letter, essentially, it is in favor. If you don't send the letter, right? So I don't really like that kind of stuff. Hey, it's either we're in favor or we don't take a stance whatsoever, or that we're opposed and we send the letter, in my opinion, right? So I don't know. I just wanted to mention that.
I don't have an issue with the letter being sent. I think you guys all know that I don't have intention of using the strong mayor powers to undermine council. Like we've built a good relationship here, and I do think it's anti-democratic. At the end of the day, as Councillor Larrabee said, it doesn't change the fact that I have them, and what the proof is in the pudding. So, there are accountability measures there that if I were to use the powers in any way, it would be fully disclosed to the clerk, to the CAO, to council, as well as being posted on a website. These are not powers that can be used in secret. And I would have to live with the consequences of my actions, both in the impact it would have on my relationship with you as council, and public scrutiny. So, I don't have an issue having a letter sent whatsoever. But it doesn't change the fact that if I were a person that wanted to use them, that letter doesn't change anything, really. Thank you.
And I just have to speak as an advisor, policy advisor, which I think that's part of the CAO's role. I'm not taking a side one way or another, but I would just suggest that this council works really well, but you're not necessarily deciding it on this council. You're deciding it as a rule for future councils. And so you have to look at what is possible in a positive way using the legislation and what is possible both in a negative way. There have been historical accounts here about things that didn't go well in governance, so that's not that long ago in people's memories here, in both in the municipality, at staff and at council and in the community. So I think when you're considering the decisions you're taking, you're looking at this council, but also in the 10-year horizon. As a theoretical thing, what do you think from a democracy or from a expediency of decision making? I'm not taking a side one way or the other, but want the council to look at it for a more general perspective than a specific, this council perspective.
Mhm. And that's absolutely true. You know, again, it doesn't, a letter doesn't change the fact that the powers are there. And after the 2026 election, if the legislation hasn't changed, whoever is mayor will have those powers as well. But we can add our voices to the list of voices that are already being heard on that. It is, there are things contained in the legislation that, as far as I'm concerned, do not necessarily tie to the provincial priorities that is supposed to be the justification for the powers, and have a specific threat of abuse if it was in the wrong hands. And I, like I say, I mean, I don't intend to use the powers, but we don't know what that would look like in the future and how it would impact the municipality from a governance and from a functioning standpoint. So, any questions or comments?
No, I'm happy you kind of stated now that you're not in favor. I kind of wanted more of a clear, so I appreciate that.
So Madam Mayor,
Hi, Councillor Larrabee.
thank you. By us sending a letter that we are against it, and everybody would have their vote on this, and if we send it to the ministry, hopefully there's enough letters like this sent that they would revoke the decision, so the next mayors would not be faced with this. That would be, that's about the only hope that we have in sending that letter.
Yeah. But it does seem to be that there is a growing number of voices, especially around smaller municipalities that just don't feel it necessary because they have a system of democracy and collaborative councils that works well. So I'm hearing pretty much that council would be in favor of staff drafting a letter based on one of the samples in there. Best one, copy the words.
And bring it back for resolution.
And bring it back for a resolution if you don't mind. Is that, can I just see a show of hands? Is that the will of council at this time? Thank you. And before I close the discussion, any other questions, comments on that? Okay. Thank you for that. Item 5.1.3 is ward boundary review, the consultation process that's being brought back. There is a staff report in the packages, and for that I will pass it to our esteemed CAO, Mr. Barbeau, who will likely quickly punt it to Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Already here?
Yeah, already there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As indicated in the memo, I'm seeking direction because we are in a bit of a time crunch with this, because there is a timeline in which we have to have the bylaw passed and then the appeal period passed and the information to MPAC. So
Is the staff report?
it's in your MPAC, it's in your agenda.
I tend to package. Thank you.
So what I am proposing is that we move quickly. The mail out of the 2025 tax bills are going out shortly, and I thought that would be an excellent means to get the information to everybody and get a notice into all of their mailboxes, get it under their nose. I've been working with communications and getting a web page put together, and we're hoping to get that up and going before the end of June. We're proposing to have a public open house in July and have that be a virtual and or in-person participation with the hope of reporting back to council in August, and with a view of adopting a bylaw in September and hopefully get no appeals and be ready to go for the 2026 election. I know it's ambitious, but it's,
The timing is what the timing is.
and if there, I can say with fair certainty that if there were an appeal, we would not make it for the 2026 election. Because January 1st, the information has to be in the PAC's hands.
Who is the appeal body?
The Ontario Land Tribunal.
Thank you. Okay, July 10th, July 17th issues for, all of council would be required to participate, or it's a public
It's a public
consultation, and so
consultation.
people, if they would like to attend, they can. And if they aren't available, they can watch the consultation online. And part of the report back to council will include written submissions, as well as any like a written synopsis of public
And
comments at
that's,
the meetings
that's
at the August.
just for clarification, that's a July 10th or July 17th. That's
Okay.
it, pick one.
Okay. Would you like council to pick one right now?
That would be fantastic.
Does council have a preference between July 10th and July 17th? Okay, July 10th it is. Well, nobody put up their hand that they cared which it was, so I'm like, student products.
Not in July yet.
Okay. Okay, the mayor will take back the declaration of the 10th and wait for councilors to access their calendars,
Either.
put their hands up.
Yeah.
Councilor Larrabee, either.
Open.
I'm just thinking it gives them a little bit more.
Just one note,
That's good.
depending on what we pick for the July meeting, would you want them in the same week?
Yes.
So that everybody's got the rest of the month?
Free, yeah.
Yes,
So it's Thursday,
yes,
council.
yes.
Okay.
So it will be the 17th.
Or
Okay,
But
10th or 17th, Councilor Gagnon. Councilor Pellerin. Councilor Barr.
12.
What's that?
10.
10.
everybody's the 10th. Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Any other questions or comments? In regards- So, sorry, if there's other questions or comments in regards to the process, Councilor Larrabee,
Question, are we having our council meeting on the 8th?
that will be discussed later in the meeting.
Oh, okay.
It is on the agenda to set our meeting dates later in the agenda. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments on that process? Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful, moving on. Okay, next we have one item under emergency measures, 5.2.1. I will pass the floor to our chair, Councilor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Under 5.2.1, I have nails on Eugene Road, one item. And with this, I'll pass it on to Councilor Pat.
As some of you may know, we had a problem on Eugene Road in the last few weeks where there was a huge number of nails on the road, and people were suffering flat tires at a rate of 2 or 3 or 4 a day. Some people have had up to 3 flat tires in a short period of time. So a lot of us actually went out and started scanning like a few kilometers worth of road with some homemade magnets, some purchased from Amazon. And every time we went out there, we found a large number of nails. I would like to ask through you, Madam Mayor, staff, what has happened since, because I know that we're supposed to maybe send a vehicle mounted with a special magnet.
So through you, I could try and hit the high points. They're really only high points. But we were made aware of this issue. We mobilized our subforeman to walk the road They really couldn't do anything visually at that point. That was last week. They walked it on a couple occasions and really weren't able to see it on a visual basis. Then I had a conversation with Councillor Fadin and his efforts, and they were saying they were finding as much as 60. So I took it upon myself to, based on information I received, hire a truck or a large commercial magnet truck to go. That truck went last Thursday and did the entire road. And the results of that were, I think,
179 was about like a little handful of nails is what was found.
Right. So that's more than. First of all, I faced this issue on Leclerc Road at one time on the pavement. I know that there was, and I suppose folks that are driving roads sometimes will lose a load if they're going to a dump. I haven't faced it anywhere else. I have faced it on the highway, but on gravel road, this was the first time. So between the efforts of the residents and the efforts of our commercial folks, that's what we were able to retrieve. Now, I don't know, since then, I haven't had any reports back on complaints into CGIS with respect to any additional names.
You haven't heard anything.
No, so that's the report I would have for you.
Ever since, I think it was scanned
Thursday.
I haven't had any reports either. We have a private group where we exchange information. So the problem seems to be resolved, but it's unfortunate that, that we waited 10 days, 8 or 10 days before sending that truck. I mean, I did suggest it. I did suggest it to Mrs. Henning on the 20th when you came to me to tell me that
Yes.
sent someone.
And we sent someone out to walk the road on the 20th and the 21st. They didn't find anything. And then on the Monday after the weekend is when we went out for the truck. The truck was available on the Thursday, so it's actually 6 days between when it was brought to us and when
The truck just wasn't available immediately. They weren't able to do it. And there was a significant expense to that for councils. I authorized $5,500 for the day. So it raises an issue with respect to when, what would warrant that. And in this case, I felt after speaking to Councillor Fadin that Monday, I believe it was a Monday, that I authorized because you weren't there, and I authorized the PO. No, it would have been the Friday.
it was.
Because you were gone on the Friday, and I authorized it.
I spoke to you and you authorized the PO. I was out in the field.
Oh, okay, yeah, you were out, okay. So it would have been the Monday, and then they were scheduled for the Thursday, and we can't force a contractor that way. So it was a $5,500 expense. So hopefully it doesn't happen more often. And we did do what we thought was due diligence. And it was only after our subforeman didn't find any that the residents were able to pick things up with magnets. I have jokingly wanted to, do another road as a base study to see if 180 magnets is an average for 2 kilometers. 180 nails is an average for 2 kilometers. But, this is the first time we've ever done this.
It was actually almost 3 kilometers that was done.
I mean, I remember the timeline. The timeline wasn't, I reported this the first time on the 20th. That's the day of the council meeting. And then when you told me that they hadn't found anything, I had to point out that, you can't see the nails. They're invisible to the naked eye because they blend in with the dirt and they're encrusted in the road. Every time I went, I had this big my magnet happened to pick up most. And you stare at the road the whole time. Did that for 2 hours, probably 3 times. You stare at the road, you don't see them, but you collect them. But I did point that out to you, and I pointed out the the existence of this truck, which is also used as the land. You said you weren't aware of that.
Yeah, we don't use a truck like that at the landfill.
But that's, okay, that's not what I was told. Anyways, I still think that, there was a too long a delay, and I would hope that we can react a little bit quicker when these things happen.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, and I have to weigh that against the, the cost involved. We don't monitor Facebook, I've lived on a gravel road, been on a gravel road quite a long time too, and so have we all. And I don't know that we've ever used a magnet anywhere in any of our road systems anywhere, so this was the first time.
Yeah. Another thing that could be done, speed things up if the truck is not available, is to put the grader to it. Send the gravel, you just cut it a little bit because the nails are on top, just cover it a little bit and just push the gravel to the side without, cutting too much. And then you'll have that bank to deal with when the magnet gets in. So it leaves the pathway open for the traffic, but it is a hard situation to deal with because sometimes even a magnet won't work if you have aluminum nails. So it's hard to resolve a problem like that, and the people that are dealing with it, it's never fast enough. But all in all, it has to be justified, and so I think that was a good call. Is there any comments?
I'm just curious, was the nails found, are they all old nails like this?
Yeah, actually I did a little count of that because I was curious. 71 nails were newer or galvanized nails, so they weren't rusted, but of the 179 nails, the majority of them were old and looked like they'd been in the road for quite some time.
Any idea if it was all over the place or in one spot?
They actually collected the majority of the nails. They started at Rainville Road, so just north of Rainville Road, the area that we were told that the nails were in, there was very few nails collected in that area, probably because the public had been going out and collecting them at that point.
Probably somebody with an insecure load.
Likely.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Comment? Suggestions? Do you have any questions to the CEO? Is there anything that probably could be done better, or at a next event like this, or?
Well, I suppose if you're asking me, and I'm certainly not a public works expert, if you're asking me and we don't have our own small magnet to do an assessment, maybe if we get a call on, Kipling Road East or whatever, we send them a sub form and we just check the hot spots with a magnet, and then that way it would, it would confirm or not. But I'm surprised we don't get more of this with 400 kilometers of gravel road and people going to dumps with scraps of wood, construction materials and that, and roofing nails. So I'm surprised it hasn't come up before.
I would say in general, I think this is a kudos to the public and why we don't see a lot of this, because I think the majority of people out there, they see these things and they deal with them, they pick them up and move on. If council wishes us to add, the purchase of a magnet and the time that it would take to do that on a more quick basis to our budget, then we can certainly look at that going forward.
Maybe that's something we could be adding to our budget next year.
We can look at the cost, but I would say that, there's a lot of things that we try and address, but I'm not sure every eventuality. I say again, I've never seen this in 5 years, nor has the staff. So I'd like to see it, be a recurring pattern before.
Thank you, CEO. I would,
Thank you,
Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Councillor Rugby. Do the residents know if anybody was kind of hauling some junk or even have an idea of maybe what truck could have spilled these nails?
No, basically, no. I mean, people haul junk all the time. You know, nails don't really fall off. As a rule, they don't fall off. Like if you dismantle some things made out of wood, the nails are usually stuck in. There is one picture that one resident took, and it was a pile of new nails. And when we were collecting nails, it was two types of, I think, the galvanized nails that you referred to. I think the majority was that, and shorter nails with a bigger head. I don't know what they're used for, but roofing nails, or maybe. So I'm not going to speculate on the source, but I think it's either a box that fell off the back of an open trailer, or it was done on purpose. I think it's one or the other. But I don't think it's the odd nail that fell here and there. Most of the problems seem to be concentrated between Rainville and Poirier. But no, nobody could identify anyone that could have potentially dropped a load of nails.
Nope. Any other comments? I'll got one comment to make on this. Today, it just so happened that I did pull the screw out of one of my tires. So, and that's the around the area. Oh, that's it. So back to you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That does conclude our committee of the whole for this evening, as it is 7:57. Right now, I will take a mover and seconder for recess, please. Councillor Rivard, Councillor Gagne.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. At approximately 7:56 p.m., the motion was tabled for a 10-minute recess.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll proceed with the meeting. Moving into number 6, our regular meeting. First item on the agenda for that is the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Ferrin. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for the council and committee of the whole meeting held on June 3rd.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Ferrin.
Thank you, Madam. We, I have a point about the minutes of the last.
May 20th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we approve the consent agenda and then go into?
Well, we'll remove that resolution.
Okay.
And then continue with the rest of the.
Okay.
The point 4, AMO conference celebration. Point F, it says Ministry of Long-Term Care. I think that's Ministry of Health.
That's fixed. So, it is, I'll just, for a second for the amendment.
Okay, can I get Councillor Ferrin will move the amendment and Councillor Larrabee a second.
It's moved by Councillor Ferrin, seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held on May the 20th be adopted as amended.
Okay, other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Back to the consent agenda.
And then back to the consent agenda, which now only has the one set of minutes.
Yes. It's moved by, let's just.
Okay.
Just read the resolution for the minutes.
Okay. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Rivard, Councillor Gagne.
It's moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Oshato Board of Management held on April 23rd, 2025 be received.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you. We have no items under planning. 6.3 correspondence. There's 2 letters that have been attached for your information. Is there a motion to receive those, or that was just included for council information? Okay, first one, municipal notification letter from MMAH. Any councillors have questions or comments on that piece? Seeing none. And the second is a notice from the Association Francophone Municipalities of Ontario, Don Thériault. Strategic planning section, information is attached. Any questions or comments in regards to that? Okay, thank you. Just show the council's received those for information. New business, 6.4.1.
It's moved by Councillor Ferrin, seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that council authorizes the municipality to proceed with the acquisition of beneficial ownership of the former Trans-Canada Trail from CN Rail.
Questions or comments? Do you want me?
You can, or I certainly, as a staff member, can indicate that I have had communication with CN Rail, given some of the issues with respect to the condition and some of the stuff, washouts we've seen on Facebook. What I would recommend is, prior to adopting this resolution, to do a little bit more due diligence. And so I propose, if council wishes, that somebody can move to defer this, and I probably defer it to August to give me the time to have a good look at it.
Okay, so Councillor Gagne.
I agree with Monsieur Barbeau's comments, because I'm aware that there's a few issues with some bridges and with some washout areas. So I would like to amend the deferral, please.
Okay, so Councillor Gagne will move the deferral. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pellerin.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Pellerin. Be it resolved that the motion be deferred to the August meeting.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Pellerin, for that recommendation. Next up, 6.4.2.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Ferrin. Be it resolved that the Chief Administrative Officer and the Chair of General Government be authorized to sign the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement with the Housing Enabled Water System Fund.
Okay, we discussed this item at our last meeting in regards to funding received for the replacement of the roof on something. So this is the one. Oh no, this is the application, I'm sorry. This is the payment agreement for
This
the
is the funding
funding.
that's actually been received.
Okay, and this is for the
So-
roof?
No.
Okay,
I know there's been some confusion. I'm not clear, that we've received that one yet. So this would be the one for the Burgo
Burgo.
Street water sewer line that would allow for the development at the east end of Burgo in the area. Yeah, on Carousel.
Okay. And what's the funding on that, like percentage wise?
Is solely funded.
I don't know off the top of my head.
We do have that project budgeted for regardless, but I believe it's quite high, the percentage
Funding,
for
yeah.
that one.
Did we budget at 100% for that and then we've received the funding, so that's going to offset, or did we, assuming that we were going to get some funding?
We had it in the budget, but we were only going to go forward if we got the funding.
Okay.
So
I believe it's 73%.
73?
From, yeah,
Okay.
under this fund, 73.
the newest one is 73%. I thought this one was higher than that, but I'd have to check. It was this one I
But it
went
is,
for last year.
it is in budget and
Yes.
thank you. Other questions or comments, Councillor Robart?
Thank you. I believe the one Schedule D, it says 755,000. Is that what we got?
It's the 40-33 split, the same as our ISEP.
Is it the same?
Yep.
Okay.
Councillor,
Thank you. Madam Mayor.
thank you, sorry.
Thank you. Through you, I'd just like to ask, so do we have a shovel-ready development ready to go that couldn't go unless we did this upgrade?
Yes, that's why this upgrade was applied for.
Okay, and which development is that?
That's the development off of Carousel Street. There's a large development that's been planned for that location.
There's two housing units that are proposed for that property.
Okay.
Two buildings consisting of 18 apartments.
So that's how it's tied to the funding.
Because the services are being brought in off of Burgo
Yeah,
Street.
and future subdivision as well.
So the two, as per the developer's plan, the two apartment buildings are phase one of a potential multi-phase development in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, Councillor Pellering?
Is that the location just past the hospital?
It's past Riva Street on your left.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, there's a resolution on the floor. All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that the 2009 Ford F-150 and a 2013 Ford Interceptor be declared surplus to the municipality of West Nipissing.
Questions or comments? Oh, Councillor Pellering?
To declare the two pickups as surplus, I guess they're still good to ride on the road, otherwise they'd be going to the scrap.
We have to declare them as surplus either way. They are parked. They are not on the road.
Are they gonna be for sale like to the public or?
So generally it is then, if there is value in listing them through gov deals, otherwise they will go as scrap. Yeah.
So, but you don't know.
At this time, I don't know, no. They're declared in surplus. I said, I know that these were police vehicles that were then handed down to our recreation department. There is not going to be much life left in them. They are off the road now. Scrap is likely their future.
If somebody was interested in buying them, is it available?
If we're going to list them for sale, I'll list them on Gov Deals, and the option will be through Gov Deals.
We even offered them to the landfill, they wouldn't take them.
True story.
That's it.
Yeah. True story.
Yeah, and they normally take the hand-me-downs, but they would take those. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, resolutions on the floor. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne, whereas council has considered the proposed dates for the summer council meetings for July and August, be it resolved that the following dates be set for the meeting of council.
Okay.
Sometime in July?
Sometime in July and sometime in August, when Mr. Barbeau and I spoke on the possibilities. We had that Tuesday, July 8th, and Tuesday, August,
12.
well, no,
I would, if you were picking something, I would prefer.
prefer not the 12th.
Yeah. I'd rather not be-
The 5th is the day after the long weekend. Does that work for everybody? We did July 8th. Yeah.
And it's,
AMO is not until it starts on the 17th. Well, no, it would either be the 5th, the 12th, or the 26th. So, and we can't move it to the 26th, so it has to be the 5th or the 12th.
you could do the 12.
Councillor Rivard?
The 5th is after the long weekend too,
Yes.
so that might not work for some
It's
people.
the 12th, it's
That is almost 5 weeks.
Well, typically,
It seems long.
typically it's one meeting a month, and
Yeah.
as I indicated to you, if there's anything that is a need to come up, special meetings can be called, or emergency meetings can be called, a council resolution. In general, that is our,
Okay.
allows us to catch up with all kinds of things.
Okay, so the proposal on the table is for July 8th and August 12th.
I just, did you get an opportunity to read the memo that was accompanying it? There was a question from the planner with regard to the 8th would ordinarily be the normal planning committee meeting. And that would, anything arising from that meeting needs to go to the next council meeting, so if
So
that meeting
15th
gets,
is.
or for planning, yes, maybe not everybody.
Okay, so we're now looking at July 15th, August 12th. Okay. Councillor Pettit?
What about the ward boundary? We wanted to possibly have it in the same week.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. So then that would change that to the 17th. It's complicated.
Can we not, no, can we not move planning? If council wishes to proceed with the 8th?
The
It would
only,
be on the 1st and it's a stat holiday. So if we move planning
Week
out.
after.
and it cuts into the circulation time for certain applications.
Can I think outside the box here and
Yes.
say, it doesn't have to be a Tuesday if it's, you can't have a resolution putting it on a Wednesday or a third, it's a council decision if they want to alter a date, right? If they're appointing a date, you can do it when you want. Please don't do Saturday.
Is this, okay, so,
Monday the 7th.
no, it has to be after Tuesday, the 8th is the whole thing. July, is anybody opposed to a Wednesday, July 9th? Just to mix things up. Oh,
These aren't playing.
believe it.
My life.
can you flip the planning in one day?
Yeah, they've done, everything's already drafted.
So right now, the proposal is Wednesday, July 9th. And Mr. Barbeau, for the sake of his marriage, would prefer.
Minutes record that.
Don't let the minutes record that. If we're gonna do Wednesdays, we prefer the Wednesday, August the 13th, because, what's that? What's Wednesday?
Commitments on Wednesdays, but it's okay. Like,
You can make it? Yes?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can I make an additional proposal, please?
Yes.
Could we not do planning on the 7th and council meeting on the 8th?
I don't think one day will matter.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's gonna suit more people better.
Yes. We are used to Tuesdays. We are back to July 8th with planning moving to the 7th.
And we're still with August.
If you did it August 12th, it's August 12th.
Okay.
That's fine.
And August 12th. Sorry.
And word boundary back to.
And word boundary back. It's back on the 10th.
On the 10th, yeah. 7, 8, and 10.
Okay, so can we read the resolution with the dates, please?
Yes, be it resolved that the following dates be set for the meetings of council. Tuesday, July the 8th at 6:30 PM, and Tuesday, August the 12th at 6:30, or Wednesday, August 13th.
No,
What
no.
did we decide?
Tuesday, August 12th.
We left it
it
there.
at
Sorry.
Tuesdays.
Tuesday, August 12th at 6:30 PM.
Okay, questions, comments? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the items on the addendum for this evening. Let me switch pages. Item 8.1.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Ibar. Whereas at the meeting held on May the 20th, 2025, Council for the Municipality adopted Resolution Number 2025-178, a portion of which authorized the temporary removal of the Canadian flag at locations in River Valley Field, River Valley Field Municipal Building, Vernon Municipal Building, North Manhattanville Community Center, and Cache Bay Community Center for the month of June 2025. And whereas Section 15.11 of the West Nipissing Procedure Bylaw states that any question decided either for or against shall not be reconsidered within a year unless a resolution authorizing the reconsideration has been adopted by 2/3 of the members present. Be it therefore resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality agrees to reconsider the portion of Resolution Number 2023-27 concerning the removal of the Canadian flag for the month of June.
Okay, questions or comments just on the reconsideration? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, and then we'll read the original resolution again. The council can either choose to propose amendments to the original resolution or not propose amendments and vote on it.
It is moved by Councillor Pellerin and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas the month of June is recognized as Pride Month, and whereas the West Nipissing Pride Committee is requesting council's approval to allow the removal of the Canadian flag at the following locations in order to fly the Pride flag: River Valley Welcome Location, Field Municipal Building, Fire Hall and Library, Verner Municipal Building, corner of Price Pal and Highway 64, North Manhattanville Community Center Fire Hall, and Cache Bay Community Center. And be it therefore resolved that council authorizes the temporary removal of the Canadian flag at these locations for the flying of the Pride flag for the month of June. And be it further resolved that council authorizes the costs associated in the amount of $458 for the purchase of the flags be covered by the municipality.
So the old resolution's on the table. It's open for discussion on if any members of council have items or they would like to propose. And so this time, Councilor River.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I remember when we voted on this, it had like kind of clicked. I was wondering, did it really just say Canadian flag? But then I saw in the room that we were all kind of okay with it, and then it went through. Maybe we missed that word, removing the Canadian flag, and I agree, like after seeing some, I had mentioned it also to my family, and I was kind of like, should we be removing the Canadian flag to put up another flag? I don't think you're supposed to touch a Canadian flag, right? So I do understand that maybe this resolution isn't written the best way, but I'm wondering if now, since the flag's already up, from my understanding, we just leave them up for, say till next Monday, and then replace back with the Canadian flag, and that's resolved at that point. Like the flag was still flying for a week. I know other places, what they do is they fly a flag for a week. There still are some pride flags up in the municipality as a whole, right? So maybe this is just one way, to kind of make it work for both sides, for both the Canadian flag and the pride flag for this year. And then we can maybe look at, an additional pole, a bracket on a wall or something at these community centers to fly certain flags, say the pride flag or reconciliation flag. I know there's now like a World Autism Day flag, and there's all sorts of special events where we could fly flags, and that would be its own separate pole apart from the Canadian flag, or that separate pole can fly the Ontario flag and then special events at that point, right? But just my suggestion would be maybe we leave it up for a week and then go back to status quo of the Canadian flag.
Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As same as Councillor Duval just mentioned, it was like, was it really the Canadian flag? But then something came to my mind is we have 4 flagpoles in River Valley. So I said, well, I'll be speaking with the Director of Community Services and see if we can, I know the resolution was on the table and it's got to be the Canadian flag, but we'll try to work it so it's not the Canadian flag that gets pulled down, and we'll use like either the Ontario, the Franco flag, or even better, because we got 2 flags of the municipality, if we could take 1 flag of the municipality down. But looking at the poles, the flags of the municipality cannot accommodate a rope and a string. It's not made the same. It's not the same type of flag. But the Ontario flag could definitely go down. So we had, I guess there was a miscommunication with the employees, or because they followed the directive that council had voted on, was to take down the Canadian flag, but we had agreed that we would take the Ontario flag down instead. And so I came back from my cottage, and I started receiving message from the locals saying they saw the municipality go in, take down the Canadian flag, and they were really, really upset. And I can't blame them. I got some very, very good close friends that are serving the military in Bosnia and lost some of their close friends in that war. So the Canadian flag cannot be taken down for any reason whatsoever. We could take another one down, but not that one. So I took it upon myself. I took the Ontario flag down, and I borrowed the Canadian flag, and I put the Canadian flag back up into the original pole. And the Ontario flag, I took it down and I put the pride flag instead. So, and now it's on our desk here. So I fixed it in my area. The best would have been one of the municipal flag taken down, but because the pole cannot accommodate it, so I did what was the second best. I do agree that we could fly it for a week and then bring back the original flag that goes there. But if this is something that's going to happen on a yearly basis, maybe we could add a pole. We could even, one person just mentioned to me, maybe we could, the municipality could put the pole and rent it to an organization. So that would be a revenue, that comes in, organization that wants to fly their flag. So it could be a money maker. But worst comes to worst, at least let's or ask the Pride Association to make some fundraising to buy their pole, set up their pole there. So, because we don't have, I know there's some brackets that you could put on the wall to accommodate a flag, but in our area, that's not possible because it needs a flagpole, so. And they're what, about $500 a piece, those, so.
Councillor Nichol?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to see the Canadian flag be hung as soon as tomorrow, if possible, because I think it's inclusive to all Canadians, not just one specific group. And then I think we can maybe look into an additional flagpole or bracket system, and we can fly other flags during other months and different groups and conferences. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perrin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For myself, I messed up. I didn't read the resolution, and I wasn't paying attention to this particular piece in the meeting. I'm in agreement with Councillor Nichols. It should be taken down and put back the Canadian flag as soon as possible. And the pride flag or any of the other flag or whatever could or should be on a different pole, obviously, but could go underneath the pole where the municipality's flag is flying. So we don't need to put poles for everything. I'm sure there's I know in Sturgeon we got more than one pole, and it's got the municipal flag, and the pride flag could go underneath for a week, a month, or whatever. And the same with the other organization.
Councillor Perrin?
Well, like Councillor Pellerin said, I also, I messed up because I didn't read it properly. Sometimes we have like 400 pages to read and you skim through them quickly, and it didn't occur to me, I didn't see that it was going to be for a whole month. I have no objections per se in flying another flag, but for extremely limited amounts of time, maybe 1 day, 3 days for a special occasion, or having another flagpole where we, leave the Canadian flag all year long without removing it. To resolve this immediate situation, I agree that we should put the Canadian flag back up. But I seem to remember that there was talk of flags last year, and I went back to the minutes, and it was actually discussed when there was a request from River Valley for a second flagpole. So I read the minutes, and there's in the minutes it says, council also suggested that a policy on flags and flagpoles be brought to council at a future meeting to facilitate both staff and council in consideration of future decisions. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to have that flag policy that council in April last year suggested we should have. And there are various ideas here at the table, but I think it needs to be discussed as a specific policy, bylaw, and we can then decide whether we will buy second poles for all those locations, what we're going to do, and how the policy forward. But maybe if we had that policy, we wouldn't be having this discussion today.
I'm just see if there's anybody else. Councillor Gagne?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Nichol and Councillor Fagan's comment. I think the pride flag should be put down where it was raised up. If there's not a second pole, and the Canadian flag be brought back up, and that a policy be drafted in regards. And I'm a bit like Monsieur Fagan. I don't think we need to kind of agree or worship any other group than anyone else, so I would agree on a 1 to 3 days. Maybe if it's on a weekend that you're raising the
Can we
flag.
save those parts till a discussion of an actual
Oh,
flag
yes, thank
policy?
you.
So
Yeah.
if we say that we'd like a flag policy to come back, then those particular will be discussed and the drafting of a policy that would help guide us in the future.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you. I'm also in agreement that it should be done ASAP. In River Valley, it's done. I put back the Canadian flag, maybe 4 or 5 hours after it was taken down. But there's still, people are upset also because of the Ontario flag. They would like to have their Franco flag up. So, and also could we check on, because I heard there's a law on flying flags, and you can't put 2 flags on 1 pole.
That's true. You can't have another flag on the
Mhm. So if we're gonna fly another flag, we have to have another pole.
Okay, I'll just say I also, while I received an email, a particularly well-written email on Friday afternoon, forward to all the members of council, and you did receive. I had an opportunity to speak with that gentleman on Saturday morning, and we had a good discussion. I indicated at that time that I would suggest that we bring this back for further discussion, and I'm happy that council has agreed with that. I will say that I think we all messed up a little bit in that. I think that we missed the nuances in the resolution, and we're working to correct that now. I would agree that the Canadian flag be restored as soon as is practicable, but by the same token, I stand by my support of the Pride organization and the work that they do in this community, because the fact is that there still is an incredible amount of discrimination and impacts to people who feel different. And I think that the Pride flag encompasses an attitude towards welcoming, and I wouldn't want to take away my support of the work that they're doing in this community, which I believe is very important. I don't for a single second want any resident of this community to ever feel like it would be better to be dead than to be different. And we know that, especially for youth, there still are impacts, and there still is work to do towards acceptance. So I would love to find a way that we can restore the Canadian flag and also honor the request of Pride to have flags flown. So in addition to the restoring, I would want to ask staff to actually look at for the locations mentioned, not River Valley, because I think there's a solution in River Valley, but for the other locations where there is only 1 pole, to look at wall-mounted brackets. They are inexpensive, and I believe that they could be installed by our maintenance and facilities staff quite easily, and have that done soon as well, to restore the commitment that we made in the resolution. So in order to kind of get from where we are to where we want to be as a council, I've heard that there is a consensus that the Canadian flag should be restored in the locations as soon as possible. So I would take a mover and a seconder on an amendment that said that. Councillor Nicol and Councillor Rivard.
It's moved by Councillor Nicol and seconded by Councillor Rivard. It resolved that the Canadian flag be restored at all of the locations as soon as possible.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of amendment number 1? That's carried. The second thing that I heard during the discussion is that council would like to direct staff that the flag policy as requested in April of 2024, be brought back for council consideration. I would like to give staff time to do that, so would the August meeting be a reasonable timeline for that, or July?
Do we have it not prepared, sir?
Yeah, we can do it next meeting.
Yeah, next meeting. I believe with the staff issues that prepared it, some of the turnover we had is the reason for the delay, and I think it's prepared already, so we can
Okay.
put it in the next meeting.
For
We
June
don't need-
17th.
June 17th, and we
Okay.
don't need a resolution for that. The resolution to amend the original resolution would be that the flags be removed from,
Okay.
that the Canadian flag be reinstated. But
Okay.
we'll still make we can from the community. Flags.
I would,
No,
I mean, at this point, I would still rather have that as an amendment on the resolution because it was brought up by several people as part of this discussion. So I would take a mover and a seconder to request that the flag policy be brought to council for June 17th. Councillor Gagne, Councillor Pellerin.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Pellerin. Be it resolved that a flag policy be brought to the meeting of June 17th for consideration. Okay.
All in favor of that amendment? That is carried. And the third amendment, which is one that I guess would come from me, but I can't propose an amendment because I'm chairing. So if anybody else is in favor and if they don't, I'm not offended, would be to direct staff to purchase 4 wall-mounted brackets for Field, Burner, North Minnetville, and Cache Bay Community Center to honor our commitment to Pride. So if there was a mover and a seconder to that, Councillor Pellerin, Councillor Larrabee.
Question?
Okay, but that was a question or were you, okay?
Yeah, I had a question. It depends if there's another pole in the area. Like in Burner, I believe there's one at the far out. So this,
But they had only one,
yeah.
so the Canadian flag would have to be around.
The Canadian Valley is at the municipal building. There's another pole
Yeah.
at the firehouse, so we could use
The fire hall has a pole which the Canadian flag is on.
Mhm.
It's the one at the municipal building, that was changed.
Oh, so we would still have to remove it.
But you'd still have to remove a Canadian flag in order to fly at the fire hall.
Well, we don't need to have 2 Canadian flags in town. We
Okay,
could have one at the municipal building, which is right on the Highway 64, and it's
If I
in
can,
sight.
I don't want to enter into a debate, but if I can be blunt, the fire halls are a very specific first responding type of organization. There's a long history with respect to respecting the Canadian flag in the hierarchy. My strong recommendation to our volunteers at our fire department is not to touch a Canadian flag at a fire department. If you look at, I know it's US, but if you look at 9/11, the impact it has on all of their brotherhood. I've been around a long time, but I have to strongly recommend to council not to touch the Canadian flag at a fire station. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay, never thought of that way.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
thank you. The cost is very minimal on those from what I understand. And we purchased some a couple of years ago, I think $50 to $60 per unit. So. Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder for that amendment? Councillor.
I would like to add that we should not touch a Canadian flag whatsoever. If
That
there's
can be
two,
part of the flag policy when it comes back to council at the next meeting. Okay, Councillor Ferrand and Councillor Larrabee, was your hand up for the second? Okay, and so the third amendment would be to address Field, Burner, North Minnetville, and Cache Bay.
Purchase. Are we on?
Wall mount.
For wall mount?
Yeah.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand, seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that council authorizes the purchase of 4 wall-mounted flag poles
Yeah.
for the communities of Field, Cache Bay, North Minnetville, and Living.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay. So do we have to vote on the whole bylaw? Like, that's fine, now that we voted on each amendment?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well,
Or do we have to, wait,
Well-
then, no, the original resolution is on the floor. We have to vote on the resolution as amended. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. So the original resolution is on the floor, which was read in. We've made 3 amendments to the resolution. Any questions or comments on the original resolution? Okay, Councillor Hart?
Thank you. Just a quick one. I'd just like to say it's pretty humbling to see that we all admit to our mistake there and not reading the resolution. And I just want to make sure that the public are aware of that as well. Right? That we are all aware that we kind of overlooked that one and we're willing to own to our mistake there. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, and I do also, just on a closing note, I would like to thank the residents that did reach out by email and message with their concerns, and specifically to the gentleman who I spent 20 minutes talking to. I appreciate his time and his input on the matter. So, resolutions on the floor, all in favor? That's carried as amended.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I also had a message sent from a resident. And I was so pissed off at myself for having this slide by without noticing that I was kind of a little bit rough on one end of the telephone, you know, because I wasn't mad at the person that the other end, I was mad at myself for doing that. So coming back to now we have the Franco flag down. A comment that was made to me is we want our flag back up. So how long would that flag stay up? What was the intention, the first intention of the flag, the pride flag to fly up? Was it a month, or are we going to a week? Are we going to a couple of days?
Well,
I know this is going to be discussed at our next meeting.
It was for a month.
yeah, I mean, it
remember.
was for a month, and that part of the resolution wasn't amended at this point. And just like procedurally, your question is, wait, am I reading that? Like, I don't know how to navigate that, quite frankly.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't, I'm trying not to. But there was no authorization in legality to move, when you moved the pride flag, there was no resolution from council changing their position. And then, moving it and then replacing the Franco-Ontarian flag, if that's what was done, was not done with authorization. So the Franco-Ontarian flag should stay, whatever flags were there would stay. Right now, what there is to remove the pride flag and reinstate the Canadian flag.
Thank you.
And then after that, what would happen is that staff would be looking for alternative solutions, buying plaques or what have you. But, a policy is coming next 2 weeks. And the spirit of this council is to support the Pride movement, and they're doing everything that they can to do that. But in some locations, it may not be feasible. And so until we find a solution and permanently make it feasible, perhaps the Pride Committee would be happy with the fact that there was an expansion of visibility, but in some locations. So I would recommend strongly that either council pass a resolution normalizing what was done, or we have to go and address that and fix what we.
I don't understand.
Well, right now, council just leaves it at this. We're going to go and remove that pride flag and put the Franco-Ontarian flag back. And the pride flag won't be flying in River Valley if there's no suitable option, if there's no pole or location on a municipality to do that. So unless council wants to have a new resolution on the floor to say that they want to replace either the Ontario flag or the Franco-Ontarian flag, if those are the two options, then there isn't any direction for us to put the pride flag in River Valley at this time.
The flag protocol as defined by the federal government applies to the Canadian flag. Is there a flag protocol that would apply to a Franco-Ontarian flag, or could
No.
both fly on the same pole?
They potentially can on that, in that situation, they potentially can if it's doable. I don't believe that there's a, Franco-Ontario is not a, you know, it's not part of the, it's not a province or a territory or the country. It's a geographic location with people that are proud. So you can do that.
I know what to do now.
Would that solution work for you?
Yes.
My recommendation strongly though is to let staff do it.
Oh. Get at her.
Okay, thank you very much. And number 8.2,
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-51, being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to deem lots 15 and 16, Plan 36M 598, not to be lots on a plan of subdivision pursuant to Section 50 sub 4 of the Plan shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
okay, just a note on this resolution. Generally, deeming bylaws would go through our planning advisory committee for a recommendation, but then the recommendation to either approve or defeat would come from them. The planning advisory committee involvement in deeming bylaws is not mandated by legislation. There was no planning advisory committee because this indeed was the only application that was received this month. An email was sent to the planning advisory committee members asking them if they were okay to bypass the meeting and just have this resolution come straight to council. Deeming bylaws are generally pretty routine. And I think we had the definition last time because we had one on the agenda last time. So I just wanted to let council know that this one actually was not seen by the planning advisory committee, but planning advisory committee did say that they did not have any issue with it coming to us. Okay. Questions or comments? All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-52, being a bylaw to appoint an alternate municipal law enforcement officer for the corporation and municipality of West Nipissing.
Very close.
Okay.
Very simply, we have two bylaw enforcement officers. One is on leave and another one is on a short-term leave. And my condolences to a bylaw enforcement officer who lost his father. But what that does leave us is no plan C. And so we're still getting calls for bylaw, but we're not able to handle them. So I spoke to our chief, and in the interim, for short term, when both aren't available, the chief has agreed to at least try and keep things afloat until we're back. If things get more permanent, then we'll have to address it from an HR perspective. But right now, all we're looking for is the ability to have a plan C. A little bit like the clerk has a couple of deputy clerks in case Holly's unavailable. I think I'm appointed as well to take meetings. So it's just a safety measure to ensure service to the public.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm definitely in favor of this because if we keep pumping bylaws out and if we can't enforce it, then it's no good. So yes, definitely, that's a good idea.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I won't give a very long mayor's report. Very much want to have it all this evening, except to mention that would like to remind both members of council, staff, and members of the public that our next meeting to be held on June 17th will be taking place in Burner at the Club MT. And it will commence at our regular time, Tuesday at 6:30. There may be limitations on our ability to live stream the meeting, but the meeting will be recorded and posted if we are not able, because of technology, to live stream. So I'd just like to mention that. I really do invite any member of the public to come out We always enjoy going out into the communities to host these meetings. After we're finished with the regular portion of our meeting, we do open the floor for questions and question and answer session. And I do look forward to seeing many residents there.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-50 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on June 3rd, 2025 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
All in favor? Carried.
Moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that the council and committee of the whole meeting held on June 3rd, 2025 be adjourned.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.